All right, this is the inequalities part of our review for our final exam. We're going to start off by just solving some of the inequalities that we see. So, number one, we're going to solve, graph, and check. So this is very similar to what we did with equations. We're going to draw the line down the center. We are going to add 12 to both sides because we want to get that x by itself. So that leaves us with 2x. On the other side, we have negative 22 plus 12. If you need to do this in the calculator, please do. I'd rather you have this question right than guessing on what that is. So I'm going to bring my calculator in, and I'm going to do negative 22 plus 12, which is negative 10. Now, one thing that people forget is this is not an equation, it's an inequality, so you have to keep the inequality symbol. Now we're going to divide both sides by 2, so x is less than, now we're going to divide this by 2, x is less than negative 5. Now, when you put this answer on the line, please make sure you have a less than symbol, not an equal to symbol, because it's not an equation. And I also don't want you just to put negative 5 on the line, because the answer is not negative 5. It's x is less than negative 5. All right, so let's just graph this. Now, remember from this unit, we took that number that we got in our answer, and we put that in the middle of our number line. Now, I told you the rule of thumb. I like to do 2 numbers above. Now, we're in the negative, so make sure you're going backwards. And 2 numbers below, which would be negative 6 and negative 7. Now, I'm just going to remind you that it's an open circle when you have less than or greater than. It's a closed circle if you have less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. So that's just our little key. So this is just less than, which means we're going to use an open circle. And we're going to shade anything less than negative 5. So these numbers are less than negative 5. So I'm going to shade this way. All right, now let's do the check. Checks are very similar to equations. We're going to start off with the original problem. Let's replace the x with anything less than negative 5. Now, we cannot choose negative 5 because x is not equal to negative 5. We could choose negative 6, negative 7, and so forth. So I'm just going to use negative 6. So multiply 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. Now, don't guess on this. Take your calculator. Negative 12 minus 12 is negative 24. Is negative 24 less than negative 22? It is. So that means that it works on our inequality checks. All right, let's move to the next example. All right, same thing. We're going to draw the line down the center of the equal sign. We want to get the y by itself, so I'm going to move the 15. To move the 15, we're going to subtract because 15 was originally positive. 15 minus 15 is gone. Here's where a lot of people make their mistake. They forget to bring the negative sign down with it. So negative 3y is less than, now we have 30 minus 15, which is 15. Divide both sides by negative 3. So 15 divided by negative 3 is negative 5. And don't forget that you are using a less than symbol, not an equal symbol. All right, so negative 5 is in the middle. 2 numbers above. The answer is not always negative 5, by the way. Okay, we're going to use an open circle. That looks closed. Let's try that again. Open circle. And I know this is wrong because I knew I was going to do this. Look at what I'm dividing here. I'm dividing by a negative. What happens when we divide our inequality by a negative? If you're saying you have to flip the symbol, that would be correct. And I forgot to do that. So my answer is not x is less than negative 5. It would be x is greater than negative 5. You're going to flip that symbol around. So all the numbers that are greater than negative 5 would be shaded to the right. Now, if you kept that symbol, your answer would not check is where that would, what would happen. So I'm going to just make that little note to myself so I don't forget it next time, even though I probably will. All right, so let's do the check. So 15 minus 3y is less than 30. I'm going to pick a number in the shaded region. You know, my favorite numbers to pick is 0 for these, and this actually would work. 0 would work. So I'm going to pick 0. So that would be 15 minus 0 is 15. On the other side, we still have 30. So is 15 less than 30? Yes, that works. So that means we have checked. So don't forget about this. When you're multiplying or dividing by a negative, you have to flip the symbol. All right, so the last question on the next page we are going to do is a word problem. Okay, these are very similar to equations again. So let's read through it. It says, at one cafe, the cost of a laptop internet connection is 25 cents plus an additional 5 cents per minute. Write an inequality to show the number of minutes a person can have an internet connection so that the cost is no more than $3. All right, so let's start with our let statement like we did yesterday for equations. We're going to let x equal. What is the item that we're trying to find? We're trying to find the number of minutes. So our x will represent the number of minutes. Now, when we write our inequality, it's very similar to an equation. Most of the time, it's going to have a number that we don't know, a number that changes, a number that doesn't change, and a total. So let's read. So 25 cents is the charge no matter what. So that's our number that does not change. Plus, we have to add 5 cents per minute. That's our number that does change because we don't know how many minutes we have. So let's see if this focuses. Try that again. Hopefully that's better. And the total cost we have is $3. And it says we want no more than $3. That means that we want to spend less than $3. But we can spend $3, which means our symbol is going to be less than or equal to. So here's our inequality. Now let's solve it. We're going to subtract 0.25 from both sides. So 0.05x is less than or equal to 3 minus 0.25, which is 2.75. Let's divide both sides by 0.05. So let me bring my calculator in. I have 2.75 divided by 0.05, which is 55. So what does that mean? We have to write a sentence telling what that means. So this means that a person can be on the internet for, this means less than or equal to 55 minutes. So that's just a sentence describing our solution. Now let's do a check just to make sure that works. So I'm going to take my original equation, or I'm sorry, it's an inequality, my original inequality. I'm going to replace x with any number that's less than or equal to 55. Will 0 work? Yes. So you know I love to use that. So that's 0 plus 0.25, which is 0.25. Is that less than or equal to 3? It is. So that works. So there's our answer. It doesn't say to graph. We don't have to graph. We just have to solve and check. Make sure you write your sentence describing the solution before you move on. Go ahead and try the problem set at home, and we will go over that in class tomorrow.